Stand by to initiate release sequencer. On my mark. 5.
We're on express elevator to hell. Going down.
2. 1. Mark.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mark, a.k.a. Derringer. Today is Sunday, August 26th, and you are listening to episode 171 of the Instant Action Podcast, your weekly source for Planetside 2 news and information. As always, I'm brought to you by great listeners like you via the Support the Show tab on instantactionpodcast.com. So how's everybody been doing? It's been a quiet week for me in Planetside 2. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I've been playing quite a bit more World of Warcraft, Battle for Azeroth, than I have Planetside 2, and it's just because WoW always seems to suck me back in, you know, no matter how many times it comes out, how many times something new comes out, and I'm not going to lie, I'll probably play it for a couple months and then slowly work my way back into 100% Planetside 2. At least that's how it's always been every other time a WoW expansion has come out. But I go back to WoW each time because I have friends that I've made over the years. You know, I've been playing WoW for a long time. Even when I'm not playing it, I'm still part of that community with a group of people that I'm still active with on Discord constantly every day. Even when I'm playing Planetside 2, I'm still active with all those guys and girls. And just it's nice to go back into a game like WoW and play with all those people again. It's very similar to not playing with your outfit for a while and then all of a sudden logging back in and your outfit hasn't gone anywhere. Everybody's still online and playing, and you just log in and play with your outfit again. That's how I feel every time I go back to my guild in World of Warcraft. So like I said, I've been a little lax in my Planetside 2 play, and then even I haven't played World of Warcraft as much as I wanted to as well, just because everything's so freaking busy in life, you know, figuring that I'd drop my daughter off at school, you know, college, and then I'd have all this extra free time. No, I haven't had any extra free time whatsoever. Every day is booked absolutely solid. And then getting ready this weekend because the wife and I are going on vacation this coming week. So when you guys are listening to this episode on Monday, August 27th, we will both be off on vacation, enjoying the sun and the beach and everything like that. So I guarantee that I will be very quiet next week and not playing any Planetside 2 next week. So it's going to be a tough show for me when I finally log back in. We're back next Saturday, so I might have a chance to play Saturday night before the next show is recorded. So, like I said, hopefully not too much changes while I'm gone. It would be really nice if the PS4 folks got a game update while I was away on vacation next week so I could come back to talk about that. But that's neither here nor there at this point. So what's in store for this week's show? Well, first I have a PC Hotfix to talk about, which fixes some of the brokenness of the recent patch. Then I want to talk about the Valkyrie and how it's been nerfed, maybe a little too much, maybe not. Then I want to talk about lore. And then after that, I'll finish with some news that may be sad for some people and not sad for other people. You know, we'll decide how it affects you when we actually get there. So strap in as we hot drop into another episode of the Instant Action Podcast. And like I said, topic number one this week is the August 23rd PC hotfix. Like I said, again, sorry, PS4 folks, you still haven't gotten this game update yet. It's got to be coming for you pretty soon. But in this hotfix, beginning with the meta, they've begun by disabling anomalies. Those are the aerial alert event anomalies because there are some issues with them. I think it's issues with how they're spawning. Also, I think that they might be causing some of the FPS issues that people are having. And again, the devs have taken them offline for now. So don't be surprised if you log in and you're not seeing the aerial anomaly alerts anymore. They also added a workaround for the bugged 000 alert timer. It should now clear if you reopen your map. And they've also put in a speculative fix for ASP discounts not working on live after an aerial anomaly continent event. And again, we shouldn't really get those anymore now that the aerial anomalies are gone. But clearly, ASP, so the discounts basically, anytime you got to realize that in the general tree of ASP, there were a whole bunch that gave you a discount on the nanite cost for vehicles, aerial, stuff like that, 20% discount for the majority of them. That was bugged and broken after an aerial anomalies went live. So again, something else that they're trying to fix and another reason why they've taken those offline. Moving on to squad changes, beacon access is now for all players, and then the next update, they'd like to have fire team locking, which will make controlling that feature a bit more intuitive than it is currently. Also, squad and platoon leaders now have access to leaders chat and leaders voice by default. In the future, they're hoping to add the ability to leave chat channels if you'd like to. They made some changes to the squad minimap facing direction indicators, so it's no longer a large arrow. Instead, it's replaced with that directional pip for less screen clutter. The squad, platoon, and fire team waypoints can now be deleted by the waypoint owners, and the delete all waypoints command now works. It wasn't working before. Also, squad and platoon waypoints have received an updated visual style, which they think improves upon the design in the last update. Platoon leaders can also now once again promote themselves to a squad leader if they want to. They also updated the visual beams on the fire team waypoints so that they're thinner than they were originally. The squad pane should also now properly filter mentor squads because that wasn't working. And the mentor squad is no longer enabled by default, which kind of stunk. They also added a fire team chat string, and the /sitrep command now only requires a minimum squad of 2 people to use the plan from what it was before. Moving on to the implant changes, the breaking down of implants should no longer allow you to go above the ISO 4 max limit of 100,000 ISO 4. But they also did increase the Daybreak cash cost of the ISO 4 recycler to 249 Daybreak cash, which I think is a ripoff. I'm not going to lie. Sorry. $2.49 just to use the ISO 4 recycler. I just don't like that amount. It should be $1 at least, and maybe 99 cents to get more people to use it. Other changes to implants, Ransack now states the correct range at rank 5, which it wasn't doing before. Heavyweight is now using the correct description everywhere. It was not showing the correct one in certain places. Experimental stims will no longer be broken down without owning a duplicate copy of it. They also updated Jockey's description. Survivalist got some changes where it now triggers when health is reduced below 40% health of your maximum instead of below 250 health flat. And it also now has a 12-second cooldown between usage. Sprint increased duration went from 3, 4.5, 6, 8, and 8 seconds to 3, 3.5, 4.5, 6, and 6 seconds. So definitely a change at the higher rank for that. And they also added a visual effects trail when the sprint speed is actually increased. Next, for infantry, the adrenaline shield is now restoring energy on kills once again. That was broken. The PS1 AV suppressor now uses the correct 360 velocity the MKV suppressed does. And they also fixed an issue that could cause motion spotters and recon devices to act what they call erratically. Next, for vehicles, the Valkyrie's Wyvern received the wrong damage adjustment last update, so they fixed it. It's now dealing 200 damage at 50 meters out to 143 damage at 150 meters. They also fixed some issues with the jamming field effects, toned down the deploy shield sunderer's visual effects, and fixed it so that anchored mode should no longer appear in the utility slot as an option. Moving on to construction, the solid wall should now render beyond 150 meters. It should now also share space with the rampart wall as intended and allow for placement of more than one of them at a time. The welding device should now deconstruct construction objects again, and the model for the flail is now updated so that it looks much more unique than it did from the glaive. Finally, there were some last-minute cosmetic fixes, so the female Bastion TR Heavy Assault Armor can now be equipped without breaking your character, and the Baron's camo now has an icon. So again, this is just a hotfix, and like I said at the beginning, it was only thrown out there to fix some of the bigger issues that came up with the game update that dropped last week. They do know that there are still some things that they're working on, so I would expect another hotfix soon, especially because of the anomalies being disabled. That's kind of a big one. I like the aerial anomaly alert, and I think not having it in the game hurts the game because it's something that's unique. So hopefully that they get that fixed sooner rather than later. But with that, let's move on to our second topic this week. And that second topic is the Valkyrie nerf, which many people in game are calling it a stealth nerf because people didn't really see it coming. And if we remember from last week's show, the big takeaway was that the Valkyrie's resistance to small arms, which they called Type 2, was changed from 96 down to 75. And the goal of that change was to put the damage from small arms in line with that of ESFs. And the devs said that even though they increased that damage that it's taking, their 50% belly armor is still valid, and also, unlike an ESF, you can still repair the Valkyrie from a rumble seat if you have engineers in it. So these nerfs were thrown out there. The problem is that people have been testing the Valkyrie now on live and actually shooting it. And there are reports that some of the LMGs with larger magazines are able to take out a Valkyrie on their own in one clip. Someone reported that with the Tonto, they can take out a Valkyrie by themselves with 4 clips. And I think the devs have just gone a little too far on the Valkyrie at this point. Sure, there were certainly instances of Valkyries out there where a good team of a good pilot, you got people inside it, a couple engineers, a couple heavy assaults inside there with, swarms or the TR rocket launcher, could do a lot of damage against enemies, enemy vehicles, enemy infantry, things like that, and the Valkyrie could stay up for a long, long time. And I can certainly say that there were episodes where I'd be playing the game and this stupid Valkyrie, and it's always Wawa. Anybody play on Emerald, they know. It's always Wawa driving the Valkyrie with his crew and causing havoc everywhere they go. And I love Wawa, so don't get me wrong. And you just can't shoot the Valkyrie down. Even if you pull a max with bursters and try and shoot the Valkyrie down, it takes friggin' forever. And they'd always seem to fly away, be able to duck down behind cover, repair, and get right back into the fight. And some of those fights absolutely annoyed me. It's like, God, why can't I blow up that Valkyrie? Why does it seem to get away every single time? So clearly these changes were to take situations like that and make it so the Valkyrie could not escape from some of those fights. Now, unfortunately, I do feel that the devs went a little too far with the current Valkyrie changes that the current Valkyrie nerf that's out there. I think they might need to tweak that number again, and going from 96 down to 75. Maybe some sort of happy medium is something that we're looking for, and that's most likely bumping it up to 85 instead of 96 or 70. Like I said, just cut it in the middle. Let's try it in the middle and see if Valkyries are surviving a little bit longer, but still are very susceptible to small arms fire. Much like even ESFs are able to get away, but they're much more maneuverable than a Valkyrie, I feel. Again, I think we're just at a point where we've nerfed the Valkyrie a little too far with its small arms resistance, and they're just getting shot down much too easy. instances where I've taken a Valkyrie from the warp gate, trying to transport my group into a new base that we're trying to assault, and we would get shot down in the past on the way there, but now we're getting shot down much sooner, much more often, and it's much harder to get a Valkyrie from point A to point B, which it's the design of a Valkyrie is it's supposed to be a quick air vehicle to get multiple people from one point to another for a quick insertion, and they're just getting shot down too easily right now. And maybe the devs want the Valkyrie to be shot down too easily, and they want people to start pulling more galaxies, as it were, because that should a galaxy will survive against small arms fire, because small arms fire doesn't do anything to a galaxy, whereas it does it to the Valkyrie. Maybe that's the plan of the developers. If that's the case, I don't know. I mean, my outfit prefers to pull a Valkyrie because it's much more maneuverable, it's much faster, and you're able to the maneuverability is the huge part of it, and you're able to get it from point A to point B faster, insert your group faster, and start assaulting a base or defending a base. I just don't like the direction that they've gone with it, and even if it's an unpopular opinion, I do think that the Valkyrie needs to get a little bit of a buff in regards to its resistance to small arms at this time and point in the game's life cycle. I just think they went a little too far with the nerf on this one. And yeah, I know I described some instances where I was absolutely pissed off that the Valkyrie continued to survive and get away and repair and get right back into the fight. But I'm having a hard time getting from point A to point B at this point without getting shot down. And I don't think that's the intent of the developers on this one. So there's my feelings on the Valkyrie nerf and where we are today. I'm curious to see what other people feel on it. I know Shadow Insignius is one who reached out to me and said, I hate the Valkyrie nerf, and I wonder if more people out there hate the Valkyrie nerf like he does and like I do to a lesser extent. But enough talk about the Valkyrie. Let's listen to this week's episode of Veteran's Voice.
This week, coming to you live from the middle of an amusement park, it's Veteran's Voice. Now, normally I don't do these while I'm out and about, but I saw no need to postpone the engagement I have with fun. Which brings me back to Araxis. Sometimes things are not fun. It happens. If you are more twisted up and saltier than your average food stand pretzel, then chances are you need to put down the computer and get somewhere else. It's okay to take a break from the thing you love. Even married couples have vacations from each other once in a while. I like to call it the office. Ha! But back to on topic. It's important that you remember that fun is the name of the game. Now, if you'll excuse me, Kiddo and I are gonna ride the roller coaster until one of us throws up. I'm gonna guess it's her. Remember, the only difference between a scrub lord and a Superman is learning from your mistakes.
And now back to you, Danger.
Well done, kid.
And we're back with topic number 3 this week, which was actually kind of a surprise topic, something I didn't expect to receive via Twitter from Planetside 2, and it's regarding the lore of Planetside 2. Now, I talked about the lore of Planetside 2, and if you guys go back and actually listen to one of my past episodes, and really, you'd have to go all the way back to episode 78 of the Instant Action podcast. That was actually on November 7th, 2016 at this point. Jesus. When I had Strawning Lemon, Eclectic Drek, Arthanus, and Winged Autumn from Encyclopedia Araxia on, and we talked all about lore in Planetside 2 and stuff like that. So, again, I was very surprised when I saw that on August 17, 2018... almost 2 years later, now the devs want to talk about lore of Planetside 2. And so here's what they wrote actually on their website. So they said, Araxis, the world of Planetside 2, has always been rich and vast, harboring countless tales from the war and an epic history. As the game has changed and grown, we've remained dedicated to and passionate about this world that we've created together. Araxis is teeming with stories that are waiting to be told, and we want to share them. Starting today, a new section will become a fixture on the Planetside 2 website, Lore. That section will house the stories behind Planetside 2, many of which were published in the past and some of which have never been shared. The pieces of our history that have not been previously released will roll out slowly over time. Currently, pieces of lore are tagged with 1 or 2 prefixes of Chronicle or Historical Archive. Chronicles are standalone vignettes that delve into a particular individual's experience as a member of a faction and tell their personal narrative. Historical archives are particularly notable as these pieces contain content that pertains to the wider world of Araxis. Historical archives may be written in the format of a holovid diary, a personal account, recorded research, or something else. Each of these transcriptions will provide information about the events that have most directly shaped Araxis into what it is today. In the coming months, you may also see a variety of changes made to some of our older stories. While we aren't quite rewriting history, we want to add polish to places where things could shine a bit brighter and better tie pieces together so that we can eventually tell new stories as we continue to build our world. We're beyond excited to explore and expand the world of Araxis with you all, and we hope that you enjoy the stories that we have to share. So, again, I was very surprised to see that they want to focus on lore at this time. And actually, right on the Planetside 2 feed of their website now, there is a lore section. The last time there was lore was in 2012. So that tells you how long ago there was actual some sort of lore. And they were pretty prolific in lore in 2011. You know, there were 1, 2, 3, well, I guess not. There's not a lot of lore out there within their site itself. But I mean, I've done research into the past lore because we have a timeline on how we got to Araxis and everything like that. So hopefully a lot of that stuff really won't get rewritten. But it's interesting, again, to see that they're going to focus on lore at this late stage of the game. At this point, I'm all for it. I'm always interested in the lore of Planetside 2, and I know we have some very talented folks out there who publish lore stuff on the subreddit and publish it on the forums all the time, and hopefully they're reaching out to some of these people to use what they've written to get stuff like that into the game itself. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do with lore within the game itself, and I just think it's interesting that from 2012 to now, they've pretty much done nothing, and all of a sudden, some new stuff is gonna appear. I'm curious to see what comes of it, and I will certainly report on more lore as it's released within the game itself. But with that, let's move on to our fourth and final topic this week. And that last topic, I'm sure you guessed it from the beginning of the show, is the news that H1Z1 Just Survive is shutting down. Now, H1Z1 Just Survive was the original version of H1Z1, where it was, you know, a zombie apocalypse game where you're just out there trying to survive. As we know, that game has kind of morphed itself, and H1Z1 split into two, and you have the Battle Royale version, and you have the Just Survive version. Clearly, the Just Survive version was failing because they have decided that they are going to sunset Just Survive on Wednesday, October 24th at 11 a.m. Pacific. They said that they were very excited about it in the beginning, and they had a lot of good support for it in the beginning, but unfortunately they're no longer in a position to fulfill its greatness, and currently the population makes it untenable to maintain. I'm not going to lie, when I first heard about H1Z1 at SOE Live, God, it's been a number of years ago at this point when they announced it. I hated the idea of it because I felt like they were just bringing another type of game like this out when we had plenty of them out there. DayZ was already out there. And the fact that they wanted to, I felt that they wanted to, you know, kind of glom onto that and steal some of his thunder and take something from it was not the right direction that they should go. I wanted them to focus more of their efforts on Planetside 2 and more of their efforts on EverQuest Next at the time, which obviously has died as well. I wasn't as much into Landmark, but Landmark was another one that I thought maybe they should spend more time working on that. But that also felt like it was taking away from EverQuest. You know, this feels like two things that they tried to push out there, you know, Landmark and H1Z1 Just Survive, which was stealing developers from EverQuest and Planetside 2 at that time, and now both of those have kind of failed and are gone. So maybe it's not what they should have been doing at the time, and clearly if this is failing and going by the wayside, it's not something they really should have done. Now, I will say that their Battle Royale version is still not doing terribly, so that's not getting shut down. It's just this Just Survive portion of it. Some people are wondering how that's going to affect Planetside 2. You know, is Planetside 2 next? And the good news is Roxley did reply on this and say, I can assure you that there are no plans on the table to sunset any other games. And that obviously includes Planetside 2. But the good news is, I mean, when you think of it, if they're saying that the Just Survive version of H1Z1 is untenable to continue with, it's because their player base is absolutely nothing. Planetside 2 still has a very stable player base. It may not be as large as it once was, but there's still quite a number of people logging into Planetside 2 every day to continue playing it. So just because they're sunsetting one version of H1Z1 and it's still 2 months away before they sunset it, it doesn't mean that they're going to be sunsetting Planetside 2 anytime soon. I think that there's still quite a long lifetime left in Planetside 2 itself. So if you're worried that because they're sunsetting one of their games that they're going to be sunsetting more of their games, I definitely don't think Planetside 2 is anywhere near close to being placed on the chopping block at this point in time. And that's really all there is to it. So if you just purchased H1Z1 Just Survive, you know, maybe you want to go on Steam and see if you can get a refund for it. But I received it free because I was at SOE Live. It was part of the bundle of bonuses we got for attending. So it's just going to be in my Steam folder until they shut it down in October. I think I've only played the game twice. So I'm not going to lie, it's not my cup of tea. Even the Battle Royale games are not my cup of tea, but that's really just me. But with that, let's move on to housekeeping this week.
Housekeeping. Housekeeping.
Come back later, please.
Housekeeping.
Not now.
Housekeeping.
Go away.
I coming anyway?
And unfortunately, I don't have any emails, voicemails, anything of that to go over this week, but that's fine. I've got to go do some more packing to head out on vacation anyways. So that's going to be it for this week's show. So how can you get in touch with me or the show itself? Well, first off, as always, visit my website, www.instantactionpodcast.com. Send me an email, instantactionshow@gmail.com. Call me, leave me a voicemail, 347-4VM-4PS2. That's 347-486-4772. The show's Twitter is @InstActPodcast, and of course, my personal Twitter is @TheDerringer. Before I get to the final closing, though, I just want to remind everybody we're in the last week of donations using my Amazon link, things like that, for the donation to Ripple's charity. So just a reminder on that. But of course, in closing, if you've enjoyed the show, please leave me a review on your podcast listening avenue of choice, whether it's iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or anywhere else. Also, feel free to tell your friends and outfit mates about the show. And finally, thanks for listening, and keep spamming that Join Combat, formerly known as Instant Action button.
Get your arms combined.